I did a series for Tokyo Pop called Pantheon High that it's a manga series about a high school for demigods in present day Los Angeles. And the big trick there is when you're creating something, you can get so wrapped up in creating this world and these characters that you never actually get around to telling the stories, right? Something like that. And so the trick of it is, I think, you have to figure out just enough of your world to tell the beginning of your story, and then you can add on as you go when you run into things that you need to know. So using Denny's example of have a story in mind, right? So I knew it was going to be about these evil kids, the kids of the evil gods, taking over the school. I knew that much. And I knew who my characters were. I figured that out. And then I built from there. But what you have to do, what you absolutely bottom line have to know is some of your plot, I'm sure your high concept, but you really have to know your characters. And I think that is the most important thing you can do when you're pre-developing and creating your own world and your own characters. Figure out who these characters are, where they come from. Even if nobody is ever going to learn these stories, you're never going to share it with anybody, you need to know who your characters are so you know how they react. Because the best stories are the ones that are driven out of the way they do things. And a story with a certain plot and a certain conflict that if you put Superman into it, and if you put Batman into it, the way each of those characters would deal with that conflict is totally different. Because they are different people with different histories and backgrounds, different philosophies. So build your characters, get the basics of your world, and then as you go, when you realize, oh, I need a way to cut the school off from the rest of the world with all these gods, why doesn't Zeus just come help his son out? Okay, well, I can have the Midgard serpent from Norse mythology wrap around the entire school and then nobody can get in. Figure that out as you go. Get the characters down, get the basic concept, start writing, otherwise you'll never finish it. All you'll do is build your world.
One of the major changes from the comics beginning to now is characters. At DC until the 70s, or no, probably the late 60s, it was plot-driven. The characterization was fastest man alive when he's in his other identity is always late. The characterization almost never got further than what actors call a funny hat characterization. It was because those guys, their background, a lot of them was pulps. And with pulp, the plot was supreme. He used a lot of stock characters, the jealous husband, the shrewish wife, in service of a puzzle. Julie was one of the first at DC to follow Stan's lead. Stan began to do real characterization, and it was pretty important that anybody did it consistently before.
Next question, please. Yes, in front. This is time for sure. Of course, that's where the evil editors come in. Even if everybody's getting along and the same, figurative page, what you want to do is have your character have something happen, have a complete story happen to them in that issue. So even if they're on the ship on the way to the intergalactic battle of the 11 different planets and 12 different cosmic deities, maybe they find out that they're the mystic kids husband and the kids going to play, and that will have a base for something. Find something that goes out with them.
In the Batman ballpark, well, an editor should be a helper. One of the things we have to do is set the rule, make very wide, loose rules, but there are certain kinds of stories you put off limits. As an aesthetic decision, we decided that Batman would not do science fiction, space travel, time travel, fighting aliens. And yet, every once in a while, they have a company-wide crossover that involved aliens. So the trick we found was to find one little piece of that story that happens in Gotham City. Something is lost, and Superman tells Batman, this is lost. And the story becomes about Batman's finding that thing. And this way...
But that might be the MacGuffin.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. He just defined it. And, then Batman can find it and beat up some guys along the way and all the stuff he does. And he doesn't have to find aliens. And he still participates in the process. You want to define MacGuffin as long as you brought that up?
Well, MacGuffin was what Alfred Hitchcock's term for the thing that sets a story in motion and all the characters in conflict. And ultimately, it's usually not that important. What's more important is what it tells you about character and it gets the story moving. And then at the end, they can get what that thing is, but it's the getting it.
It's the multi-stack Falcon, it's the lost art. It's the thing everybody wants.
Yeah, the bar of music in Ladies on a Train. Hitchcock sometimes came up with that last. He said it was the thing that the characters care passionately about and the audience really doesn't, except the audience cares about the characters. I don't think it would be too as cavalier as it sounds, because if it's stupid, that undercuts all of the rest of your narrative. One of Woody Allen's very early movies was he took a bad Japanese spy movie and redubbed it. Yeah, What's Up, Tiger Lily? And what they were all after was the world's greatest chicken salad.
It was an egg salad so good.
Egg salad.
An egg salad so good you could plot.
One of my favorite MacGuffins was a comic book. It might have even been DC's Invasion, where they were looking for something that had been invented by a scientist named Plot, P-L-A-H-T. So it was the plot device.
Whoever wrote that has my undying admiration.
Next question. Back there.
Yes. I recently studied Italian neorealism in school and wondered just how important, the little subtle, unimportant details are in the long run. Like, how important it is that, say, Blue Beetle has a poster of Batman in his bedroom, or that old lady who lives across the street has a pet.
How important are details?
That don't really contribute to the plot as such.
Well, but they do. They contribute to character, to your understanding of who that person is and what's important to them. And then, especially in serial comics, that poster could become important in 10 issues down the line or something. So, but they do give flavor to the. No, it goes till 6 o'clock.
Till 6.
Go till
Almost
6.
6. So last season, sorry.
Check the program, really, it says it goes till 6.
We don't lie. We're coming.
So yeah,
I'm getting not paid by the minute.
I think the key to that is ideally you want to put in those little details that seem like they're not important, but that reveal something about your character. So if Blue Beetle has a Batman poster in his room, that tells us Blue Beetle is a Batman fan. And then when Blue Beetle meets Batman, we understand why Blue Beetle is super flustered and trips over his own feet and can't do anything right, because we get that he's a big fan of Batman, even if it just seems like a tiny little detail. And that's your job as a writer, is to let the artist know in your description when something is important. I mean, if you just need to say, Blue Beetle has a bunch of music posters in his room, that's fine. You don't need to define which bands he's a fan of. But if it's important, that he's into heavy metal, then make sure that's clear to your artist in your panel description.
Yeah, the general rule is everything should stick to the spine of the story. The spine is what the story is really about. There's a term coined by the guy who wrote Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, William Gold. What Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid is about are those two guys in Chile being slaughtered by an army. And if you think back on that story, although there's a great variety of kinds of incidents, comedic, musical, melodramatic, action, every single scene puts those guys in that fort. So a guy named John Truby, who teaches screenwriting in Hollywood, says you should never visit your characters. Every scene should move the story along. It is perfectly legitimate to put a poster in a room that does not deal with the plot, as long as it deepens the understanding of the character. But if it doesn't either move the plot or deepen the understanding of the character, it probably doesn't belong there.
I just want to mention that you guys are just seeing a story being written before your eyes. The conflict is that I negotiated for an hour for this panel. However, they like to have 15 minutes between panels. They schedule something to start exactly at 6. So the guy whose panel starts at 6, the Geeks Who Drink Pub Quiz, which I'm sure is a lot of the same crowd. The Geeks Who Drink Pub Quiz. So, I mean, but seriously, that's a conflict, right? It's not a cosmic superhero battle, but they're going, why don't those idiots shut up? And I'm going, we got an hour, get out of here. You know, that's conflict, you know. What if the person doing the panel was my boss?
Okay.
Right? I mean, that's a story. That's a story developing potentially right before your eyes.
Yes, besides we're the good guys.
We are the good guys. Yes, we have a question over here. What if you have a story in mind, but it's a witness story? What do you mean the title? I'd say don't get too hung up on the title. Just give me the title.
Often something that you've written, a line of dialogue, will give you your title.
Yeah, Pantheon High that I mentioned before, I called The Believers. It was about people who believed in gods. And it was only once I was writing this whole book about Pantheon High that I was like, hey, that might be a better title for this book. So I would say, finish the story, have the story as good as you can get it, then worry about what the title is going to be. If you need to give it a placeholder in the meantime, give it something in the meantime.
Once in a while, you'll be inspired with a really cool title and come to you, and then you just have to write a story around it. But usually, it's more like false.
I have never taught this man this much. Early lead.
My favorite title the Texas guys, I'll do my own damn thing.
Oh, there's still panels on.
Any tips for how to configure the page changes?
Andy and I once worked for a boss who said, establish conflict no later than that's a little draconian. I don't ever want to make the settings of it, but in general, it's right. Establish the conflict as soon as possible and get your characters talking as soon as possible, because those two things, it's been shown, will do more to engage the reader than anything else. And from there on, just if something doesn't stick to the spine of the story, cut it. There's a movie currently out called Kill Your Darlings, and that's taken by old writers role that when you come up with that one perfect little beautiful thing about the cuddly little kid and the little babies, cut it. If it does not, if the story isn't about that. You got to be fairly ruthless. Generally, if you don't put anything in that is not perfect, don't put it in. And also remember characters' action. What they do is more important than what they say. People can lie and they can realize their intention. So it's one of the rules, particularly writing for visual media, that what a character does is important. It kills you as a writer to remember.
And it's not as far as the page turn and transition from the scene. In order to have something dramatic, because it's really not you, unless of course it's printed. Got you the left hand page and the scene and the right hand. You always want to have something, like a page turn or a scene name, on a exciting note. And then if you really think there's a problem, captions, you can start, like we're doing movies, you start the dialogue and the next dialogue. And the caption at the bottom of the last episode.
Yeah, Larry Hama, who I think is the most underrated of the really good comic book writers, constructs each page so that the last panel ends on a question or some reason to turn the page. Likewise, when you always open a story to give the reader some reason to keep going. Our mantra is open on action, but if you have somebody about to go through a door, something that simple might work because there's a natural curiosity to know why he's going through the door and what's on the other side. You don't want to end with a three-quarter down shot of the movie. That's pretty boring, even if it has something to do with the story.
The Fingeroth rule is more about opening story. But you can't go wrong opening a story as somebody comes through a kind glass window. Because humans just want to know what caused that other human to come crashing through the plate glass window. It's just, anyway, we have to have a couple more questions. Despite what those people like to think, yes,
Why?
Maybe your phone for a second.
And conflict. Keep ramping up the conflict. In a perfect world, whatever your conflict was here, you need to have something bigger. Right? And you need to have something even bigger here. So you're constantly building and building and building, and that's why you think of those movies as three-act structure. Your final set piece, your big third act thing, it is the big giant space battle. It is a huge thing that everything has been building up to. So you can constantly have a movie pop in that is just a little bit more, whether it's emotional or physical, then the reader is constantly like, what happens next? And you want them to go back.
And are there any magicians? One of the ways I think about these kind of stories is magic. A magician will come out and do something flashy right away. His gloves turn into a couple of dogs. Then each trick will get more and more stunning. It doesn't mean they necessarily have to be bigger. One of the knockout effects in Harry Blackstone's act was done with a deck of cards. It was more impressive than taking down from the point. And then the last thing on it's what it's about is building. Getting attention, grab it, and then keep their interest. Like, as Paul said, by upping the ante and leaving methods. Soccer league.
And then you want to have something at the end, whether it's a cliffhanger or the main story.
Or sometimes you can, that's called, us very college graduates call that a denouement. And that's a lot of shows like Law and Order. There was a kid, I don't know what happened to him, he turned out good, he got a bad rap. one of the characters will visit him and tie up that story. What I tell my students is, if your dating moment is more than a page, it's probably too much. You want to add or a reason for it? Why the next real different. You don't have to have a dating moment. I've written lots and lots of stories without it. And if they say you're doing a 4-issue miniseries, you give them a reason in the last paper to buy issue 1 to buy issue 2, and so on and so on. It's
We have a day one, because that miniseries is a binary thing.
yeah, precisely.
That should be one of your profile pictures. That's an helpful
I go back and forth because I've seen, like, some things I've got a plot in mind, but there are definitely times when it's like, no, I want these characters to have this conversation. And I write out all of the dialogue first, and I just kind of play their conversation in my head. And then when I'm done, I go through and I do panels. And sometimes the visuals might have very little to do with dialogue, depending on what kind of story I'm telling. But sometimes I do go dialogue first. Bill Willingham, who does Fables, he does that a lot, I believe. I think he will write dialogue, and then he'll figure out what the action is later.
I guess now they have a legitimate reason to kick us out.
Yes, thank you, Paul, thank you, Denny, thank you, me, thank you, you. I haven't sold my record for the K-22 if I can raise the funds to shoot it down.
Yeah, we're at our tables. Feel free to come on by. If you want to buy stuff, great. Even if you don't, just want to talk about this stuff. This is the kind of stuff we love talking about, hearing your thoughts, giving you ours, that kind of thing. So feel free to swing by.
I am here representing Heroes Initiative, a very worthy cause, and I'm going to drop by that table.